my parents were extremely abusive towards me, and I think I've been stuck in a place of cognitive dissonance in this healing process of picking between, well, I'm traumatized, there's no question about that, but like, they provided a lot. So on one hand, if they call me a spoiled or privileged brat, I can see the ways in which I was privileged. I wouldn't say necessarily spoiled, but I definitely say I was privileged on the material side of things. But there was also emotional abuse, emotional and psychological, physical neglect, and just put-downs, verbal put-downs, and coming from people who I'm supposed to be looking up to in life for guidance, for support, for encouragement, for people to build you up. That's what parents are supposed to do. You are supposed to raise your kids, not lower them by putting them down verbally, which later becomes the way that they think and feel about themselves. So, though I had a pool in my parents' backyard and I lived at home until I was 28 years old and struggled financially because I didn't have my shit together, I was prioritizing dating and trying to find the love of my life since I was like 12 years old. I didn't have a parent teach me about sex. I didn't have a parent teach me about how to fight, how to be a man, how to stand up for myself. I had parents who were more authoritative and on some dictator type of shit, where they just wanted to tell me what to do and control me. And it wasn't really love. And there are countless nights and days that I spent suffering alone because of the ways in which they treated me. And I lived in it for so long, I didn't know it was abuse until I had some sort of spiritual awakening / mental breakdown, if you will, that made me question my own existence and my own self and reality and all these things. I was handed a self-help book, and in that, it talked about self-care, self-love, and it talked about toxic and abusive relationships. It talked about narcissistic relationships. It talked about narcissistic abuse, and that opened up the door for me that pointed at what I was dealing with is narcissistic abuse. Then I started to study sociopaths, psychopaths, and just all on YouTube, any books that I could get my hands on, and then trying to have conversations about this with my parents, like, not to be like, y'all are monsters, but like, hey, like, y'all fucked me up and I need help because of that. And it's not even like I'm requiring anything as far as help, but just to be there and to acknowledge what you've done. And they were not able to reflect, and everything was just scapegoated onto me. And I realized how much they had been affecting the way that I thought and felt about myself. When people came over, they were the friendliest parents on earth. Hey, help yourself to anything you want, and you know, come on over anytime, and everything is, you know, they seem like the world's greatest parents. But when nobody was around, I'd be getting called an idiot or brain dead or stupid, or they would make fun of whatever disability that I have, whether it's a processing difference or whatever it is. They would like make fun of me and mock me and pretty much call me slow. And instead of like taking me to a fucking doctor to give me the help that I might need, it was easier for them to just sit there and laugh and make fun of me. So I've struggled because I do love my parents, and there's a saying that says, when a child is abused, it doesn't stop loving the parents, it stops loving itself. And that's 100% accurate, because even in the relationships that I've had that were healthier, sometimes I fucked up because I didn't know how to either receive love or give it properly because it wasn't modeled. And so I've had so much work to do on myself, which has been a blessing, because I'm the best version I've ever been, and I'm only continuing to get better. I'm not talking about this to victimize myself, because I am no longer in the victim role. I am working my way out of it. But the point is, I didn't have it easy growing up. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. I know a lot of people out there who have had fucked up parents who traumatized them. And then when you try to have a conversation about it, or other people get involved, you're like, man, that's your mom. They weren't that bad. Hey, listen, a combat veteran gets post-traumatic stress disorder. And when you have that from childhood, I'd say, yeah, it's pretty fucking bad. On top of not just the physical or the fear that I felt about my parents, but the actual fucking psychological and emotional damage that they did. When you convince somebody who has, like, let's say the entire family drinks, you're the only one that stops drinking, you're the one that stops eating, junk food and tries to eat healthier, starts going on juice fasts, goes to the gym frequently, every day working out, does body transformations, and then also makes music, and has also put out numerous albums, taught yourself how to record yourself, taught yourself how to make your own beats, taught yourself how to engineer and mix your own records, and pretty much set up a small home business just by yourself, like without even thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna start a business. You just did it because that's what I was naturally doing. But then I was also being called lazy, even though I was doing all that. I was called stupid, even though I started to read and educate myself. And then they started to discredit the books that I was reading, even though they were helping me and helping me understand who and what my parents are and how they traumatized and affected me. And I think if a parent is unwilling to have a conversation about the ways in which they hurt you, that's an indicator that they did it on purpose, with intention, and they don't really care about you. And so, in me trying to have these conversations, and it pretty much resulting in me in this very vulnerable place of feeling isolated, feeling alone, because when I go to them and try to have that conversation and nobody's willing to listen, and then I go to other family members who I thought might have had my back, and nobody gives a flying fuck. Out of like 30 years of my life, I've never once called a relative, let alone called a relative and be like, hey, I think I'm being abused and I need help. Everybody said basically, fuck you. They said, they didn't even listen. They didn't ask. They just completely denied my experience, which means I was pretty much groomed in a fucking cult. And you think these people, and it makes sense once I've healed and learned, yeah, we had Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinners together, but the psychological and emotional warfare that goes on in narcissistic or dysfunctional families is insane. Like, how the fuck are we sharing a meal together, but I have to watch it because you're over there sending me hate with your fucking negative comments or your little put downs that they try to mask, and it's just like, fuck the food, fuck the fake bullshit. Like, I'm not, like, families are supposed to love and like each other. What the fuck is going on here? So, in me trying to even talk to my sister about the shit that my stepdad and my mom put me through and did, she completely turned her back on me and fucking ended up getting married and didn't even invite me to the wedding. So it's like, the entire family is like, I've been scapegoated because I started speaking the truth. And I'm just, it's the most painful thing I've ever experienced, going through this. But in doing so, it brought me to this place of strength and peace within myself, because I'm protecting myself as I should have been protected as a child. And if anybody else is going through a similar situation, just know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And and you can get through it, and you are strong.